Cinderella pressed her palms against the cold stone, scrubbing at a stubborn grease stain until her skin burned. Every motion sent a jolt of pain through her wrists. The kitchen was silent, save for the rhythmic scrape of the brush against the tile. The stepmother walked into the light, dropped a heavy bowl of lentils mixed with ashes onto the floor, and kicked the pile toward her. "Sort these by dawn, or you stay behind," she commanded. She did not wait for a reply, her footsteps echoing sharply as she exited the room. Cinderella worked through the night. The soot stained her skin, turning her fingers black and raw. She did not stop. She did not sleep. She finished as the first sliver of sun touched the horizon, her back aching from the hours of stillness. She stood, wiped the dust from her face. The stepmother met her at the door, gripped the fabric of her apron, and ripped it away. She shoved Cinderella backward and slammed the heavy wooden door. Cinderella stumbled away from the house, retreating into the dark corners of the garden. She collapsed into the dirt, clutched her elbows, and wept. The sobbing stopped when the air itself began to vibrate. A pulse of light erupted from the shadows, so intense it forced Cinderella to shield her eyes. The darkness vanished, replaced by a searing white glow. A figure stood in the center of the clearing, gripping a gnarled wooden stick. She did not speak, but tapped the tip against a nearby pumpkin. The vegetable groaned, its rind stretching and hardening until it curved into the solid frame of a golden carriage. The woman turned her attention to 4 mice scurrying near the garden wall. With a sharp flick of her wrist, they blurred and surged in size, their forms smoothing into the muscular shape of white stallions. Cinderella scrambled backward, her hands pressing into the damp earth as the carriage wheels sank into the soil. The woman turned to her, raised the stick, and swept it through the air. The rags covering Cinderella dissolved, replaced by a fabric that caught the moonlight, and held it, shimmering with a cold, pale brilliance. The woman leaned close, her voice cutting through the hum of the magic. "The spell breaks at the 12th stroke of midnight," she warned. Before Cinderella could ask a question, the figure dissolved into a swirl of mist, leaving only the carriage, the horses, and the silence of the garden behind. The music died the moment Cinderella crossed the threshold. Hundreds of heads turned, but she saw only the path opening through the crowd. The prince moved with purpose, shoving past courtiers until he stood directly before her. He reached out, took her hand, and pulled her toward the center of the floor. They moved in silence, while the room filled with whispers. Hours bled away, marked only by the rhythm of their steps and the heat of the hall. Then, the first bell struck. A deep, resonant boom vibrated through the floorboards, shaking the chandeliers. Cinderella froze. The second bell followed, sharper and louder. She jerked her hand away from the prince, her breath hitching in her throat. She turned and bolted. The crowd blurred into a wall of color as she sprinted toward the grand staircase. The third bell tolled. She took the stairs 2 at a time, her feet sliding on the polished marble. Her heel caught on the edge of a step. She stumbled, felt the weight of the shoe slip from her foot, and heard it clatter against the stone with a hollow, ringing sound. She did not stop to retrieve it. She hit the bottom of the stairs and threw herself into the night. The morning sun cut through the kitchen dust as the prince stepped into the house. He held the glass slipper aloft, the material catching the light. The stepmother gestured toward her daughters. The first sister sat, thrusting her foot forward. She shoved, her face turning a deep, mottled red. She gritted her teeth, a sharp gasp escaping her lips as the pressure bit into her skin. She pulled back, the shoe empty and cold. The second tried next, jamming her toes into the narrow space. She winced, her knuckles white as she gripped the chair. She gave up, shoving the shoe away across the floor. The prince watched, his jaw set, his gaze hardening with every failed attempt. He turned toward the door, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword, ready to abandon the search. The silence in the room was absolute. He took one step toward the threshold, his boots clicking against the stone. Then, he stopped. He tilted his head, his eyes shifting. He saw a figure standing in the shadows, motionless, watching him. He turned fully, his focus locking onto the doorway. The prince stopped inches from her. He extended the glass slipper, his hand steady. Cinderella stepped out from the shadows, her movements deliberate. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the matching glass slipper. The room went silent. She sat on the wooden bench, slid her foot into the shoe, and it settled into place without a single point of resistance. The fit was absolute. She stood, the glass catching the morning light, and looked past the prince to the open door. He took her hand, his grip firm and certain. They walked past the stepmother, past the kitchen, and out into the open air. The stone floor of the house fell away behind them. She did not look back at the ashes or the walls that had held her. They crossed the threshold and kept walking, moving toward the horizon as the heavy door of the house swung shut, sealing the past away for good.